Hi, everyone. I know you probably want to know about what you're being graded on. Well, let's talk about this. We're going to do a little bit of a different approach this time. We're going to do something called a grading contract. Now, this grading contract really just says, here's my name, here is what I am agreeing to completing. This is my part of the project that I'm going to complete, and here are the links to that project or to those requirements. So you're going to actually do a grading contract for part 1, for part 2, and part 3. So let me walk you through this a little bit. Let me give you the more specific directions. This contract is the work you are committing to completing for part 1, the writing of the declaration. So I, Mrs. S, am going to complete requirement number 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And here are the links for those requirements. Okay. You will complete a different grading contract for each part of this project. So one for declaration, one for replica, and one for the presentation. You will be graded according to what you committed to as indicated by this contract. Notice this is in bold. That means it's important and I want it to stand out to you. So if you say that you're going to complete requirement 2 and you end up not completing requirement 2, you need to change the contract. Because if you said you're going to complete requirement 2 and I'm looking for requirement 2 and I don't see it, then I'm assuming you didn't do that and then you get a 0. So this is going to be an important document for you. Again, this is linked into the guide that I made for you. So you don't have to keep track of it necessarily in your drive. But if you end up changing your requirement, you need to change this document, this contract. Okay, so after reading through the requirements in part 1, with your group, if you have one, your committee, you will discuss how to divide the work equally according to each person's strengths. So there's some requirements in there about argument writing and some that are just explanatory. Well, if you have a group member who is really good at arguing, you should probably have them do the argument part, do or work with somebody else to do the argument part. If you feel like you have somebody who's really good at explaining, then have them do the explanation parts. So make sure you're talking about what you're good at, what each of you are good at. Okay. If you choose to have a few people work on a section, then everybody will receive the same grade. So for instance, if you're going to have 2 of you work on requirement number 2, then even if only one person did all of that work, both of you are going to get the same grade. Okay. If you are the only group member who's working on that section or on that requirement, then you'll receive an individual grade. Again, if you don't do that work, then you're going to be the only one receiving a 0 on that section. Okay, so consider those as you're making these decisions. So for the declaration, if one or more group member or members do not complete their commitments, the rest of the group will not be penalized. That's for this declaration one, though. On the others, there is a group grade component. On this one, it can be all individual grades if you want it to be. So you will not be penalized on this one if your group members don't do their work. However, your group will be at a disadvantage when you have to make the replica and present your new world in those next 2 projects. Okay, so just keep that in mind. As a result, I would try encouraging them to get their work done and get me involved so I can help to motivate them. I know group projects can always be tough, but if they don't do their part, you won't do their part for them. That is not your job. That is not your responsibility. You guys divvied the work up together. If they choose not to do it, that is out of your control. Can you motivate them? Sure. Can you get me to motivate them? Sure. But at the end of the day, I cannot make them do that work, and neither can they. But if you don't let me know about that, then I definitely can't do anything to help them. So if you have tried to motivate them and they have not gotten their work done, don't wait too long. Just let me know. Hey, we've tried to communicate with so-and-so and they're not getting their work done. Or, hey, we tried to divvy up the work, but so-and-so wouldn't respond. We have assigned them work. Can you make sure that they know? Sure, I'm happy to help in that way. Okay, but do not do their work for them. That is unacceptable. You have enough of your own work to do. Don't do their work as well. Okay, now we got that out of the way. Now that you know how this contract is going to work, you will fill out the grading contract for the declaration section. So you have your name. So your name, commit to completing this requirement number, and here's a link to my answers for that requirement. So if you look at my example, I have my name. This is what I am committing to completing. And you'll notice that I have completed 2 of those requirements so far. And as I complete the other ones, I will link those in as well. Okay, so right away, I'm guessing that you're probably not going to have tons in each of your boxes. You won't have anything linked in right away, but you will have at least the numbers that you are responsible for completing. Okay, I hope that part makes sense. Once you've divided the work and know what you're committing to, you'll need to share this document with me so that I can review it. All I will expect to see when you share it with me is who is completing what. I won't expect any work to be done. I just need to be able to say, here's this group's contract. Here's what each person has said they're going to complete. And then I can help to walk you through your progress and check in on you as you guys are completing your work. Once you have shared this document, the contract, with me, then you're free to work individually on the requirements you said you were going to do. You only need to check in or work with your group if you need to. So if you want to work on your own stuff, but you're sitting with your group, or you're on a Google Meet with your group or something, or FaceTiming with your group, that is fine. That way you guys can have easy access to one another, or have like a Google Doc open where you guys are chatting with one another. You're welcome to do that. But if you want to work just individually, go ahead and work individually. That's why you divvied up the work. Okay? Next, you will want to pay attention to the calendar so you know how much time you have in class to complete these requirements. You need to consider what is reasonable and maybe set some mini deadlines for yourself. You'll notice I have some deadlines in there for you where you have to be 50% of the way done with your work, and I'll check in with you. Once you are 100% of the way done with your work, I will check in with you as well. But you want to make sure that you're managing your time appropriately. I'm going to pause for a second, let all that rattle around. Hope that's making sense to you so far. Then, as you start to create documents for the requirements you said you were going to complete. Staff, please excuse the interruption. Just an FYI. Sorry about that interruption. Okay. As you start to create documents for each requirement you commit to, please immediately link into this contract the documents to those requirements. This will help me to guide you while you're working. Let me put this really simply. As you start to complete the assignments, just link them in like I did in my example above. So when you first shared this contract with me, everything was blank. Okay, the documents were blank. There was nothing linked in there. But as you start to make those documents, you want to link those in there so that I can look at them while you are working. Okay, in order to know how to link in your requirements, you can watch the video that I have for you right here. Okay, and then during our work days, I will look at the LinkedIn documents to help you as you are completing those requirements. So if you have LinkedIn to your assignment, let's say requirement number 2, and you are on the very first part of that and you're having trouble getting started, and I just happen to be in your document at that point, I can click on that document, I can chat you, and I can say, hey, are you having trouble getting started? Or do you want to know which of these questions you should answer? That way you and I can have some conversation back and forth, and you can have some support as you are working through those requirements. Speaking of those requirements, I do have 2 examples for you. An example of the second requirement and an example of requirement number 7, characterization, the family section. So you can have kind of an idea of what to do. That was a lot of information, I know, but if you listen to all of this and you still need some more support or some clarification, again, go to those frequently asked questions document in the guide. But of course, you can then also email me or send me a chat. Or if you need a Google Meet, let me know. Okay? Good luck. Divvy up the work logically, and I will be looking at your work soon.